Well, people say you can't get any good deals anymore, but here's what you can pick up for 800 bucks. Hello my friends, and welcome to Tom's Tinkering and Adventures. Today we'll be working on this 2002 Kawasaki KLX300R, which was recently purchased for $800. Now, for some reason, it seems like used motorcycle prices have skyrocketed recently, but good deals are out there. You just have to keep your eyes open, know a few people, that sort of thing, and you can find them. I've found plenty of them, including, right behind me, a free KTM. But I have a friend who I recently introduced into riding. I've made a couple videos with him, Mark, and he's been looking for a little bit more bike now that he's getting a little bit of experience. And this one popped up, and for $800. When I had heard about it, it was kind of a friend of a friend deal. I had not ever seen it or knew anything about it, but it looks like a pretty decent find here. And all I've done to it so far is I have put air in the tires. They've been sitting for a long time. You can see dirt on this tire, and yeah, these tires are not much longer for this world, so we're gonna have to get some tires. So, I mean, when you get a bike for a reasonable price, usually it means that it needs some stuff. So we're gonna go through and take care of a few things on this bike. Surprisingly, I have never owned or ridden a KLX300R. I rode one of the little bit newer KLX250, the street legal version, which is kind of funny. These bikes were made from the 90s all the way up till today, really. Some variant of this same basic bike. And overall, I think we got a pretty good machine here. Looks like we got to try to do a little bit of repair on this shroud. We'll try to repair it before we replace it. I noticed that the fuel petcock is leaking, and we got a few other little minor things to fix. The shifter tip we got to fix, and the brake lever over here is a little bit wonky. The headlight mount. Anytime you got extra zip ties, you just know it's a good thing. But she does run. Let's get the good old YouTube smell-o-vision. This gas in here smells like it is a couple years old. So the fact that it's running on that is telling me that this thing is going to run a little bit better once we get some fresh fuel in there. Tail light doesn't work, so we'll take a look at that. All right, let me get this bike up on a stand and we'll get started. Yeah, I always like working on Japanese dirt bikes from this era. They're very easy to disassemble. Usually the seat is a simple 1 or 2 bolt affair. This happened to be these 2 bolts. Seat came off. Tank was pretty obvious. You have the tank shrouds, which mount to the radiator. Of course, on this side it was a zip tie, and then there was 2 bolts here and a rubber strap. And the tank comes right off. So always a good idea if you get a bike like this to just strip it down, at least to this point. You get a good look at things, such as this air filter, which I've seen much worse, but we're going to get that cleaned up. Looks like there's evidence of something going on here. But at this point, we could also check the valve clearance, which I'll have to see if I can find at least the valve clearance specifications. We can check that. But so far, so good. I think all I'm going to do is drain this carburetor out. I'm not going to clean it right now. The bike run pretty good. I know I didn't show it in the video, but it started up pretty easily, and it ran, I'd say, about 95%. So I think some fresh fuel, and maybe I'll put just a little bit of fuel system cleaner in the first gallon of gas, and we'll be good. So I'm going to drain this tank, and I'll drain that into like an ice cream bucket or something so we can see what it looks like. Well, how appropriate is that? Kawasaki bike, and we have green gasoline. And it looks like part of our filter from our fuel petcock valve. I'm going to remove that. I have several extra ones around here, so if I have one that fits, we'll install that. All All right, here's my plastic repair that I'm going to be doing for the shroud. This is the piece that attached to the tank. It's broken off. Now, I've tried all kinds of different plastics to varied successes, but usually not too successful at all. What has worked really well for me is using my soldering iron. Let's see if I can get you in here. I think I've done a video on this, on repairing some other plastic items, but and just heating up the plastic and melting it together. And if you're missing plastic or something like this isn't even too visual because it's going to be behind a bolt, so I don't really even care what it looks like. I will cut up old oil bottles or even other old broken plastic that I've taken off and replaced on other motorcycles, and cut it into little strips and then use it to feed into here, kind of like welding. I don't know if I have any laying around here right now. Sometimes I have some hanging out, but it doesn't look like I do. But that works really well. And then, of course, if you have it in a visual area, you can try to clean this up by smoothing it out. And another thing you can do also is cut little pieces of wire into little U shapes and melt them in there as well to add extra strength to this. So all I'm going to do is go around and melt this together and see how it feels, and then probably what I'll do is I'll come back and I'll cut up an old oil bottle or something and melt that in there to give it some added strength. So I'm going to fix this, and then I also took the headlight off. I noticed it was zip tied on. I see that this bracket here is a little bit broken off, so I'll strengthen that all up and we'll see how she looks. It's not beautiful, but it's going to work. So and I have already installed the other shroud over here. Now this one wasn't too bad because come on back. That piece of plastic was there, but the one that mounts to the radiator, there wasn't a piece of plastic, so I actually cut a piece and attached it on there, and it doesn't look beautiful, but it's going to be underneath a washer, so you're not going to see it. Nice thing is, if you look around, sometimes you can find exactly what you're looking for. And right here is our valve specs. Intake 10 to 0.10 to 0.19 millimeters, and exhaust is 0.15 to 0.24. And like I said, it's very easy to get in here. Now, if we have to adjust the valves, it's going to be a little bit more work, but let's just do a real quick check on these intake valves. I've got it set at top dead center. Here's a 0.10. And it feels like it's just slightly tight on that one, and it's fitting fine under that one. Check this one a little bit better. There we go. 0.10, it's in there. And what was the exhaust? It's 0.15. Here's my 0.15 feeler gauge. Exhaust. So these are within specs. Now, if we had to adjust them, of course, got to remove the cams, cam chain tensioner, all that, but I highly recommend that even if you're a little bit afraid of doing valve adjustment, you can easily do a valve clearance check. Now we're good to go on this one, so if it did need adjustment and you didn't want to move on from this point, well, now you would know. You take it to the dealer and you know that it needs adjustment. All right, so I removed the brake lever. It's all bent up. I'll straighten it out in the vise here. And best way, obviously the best way is to have a vise. If you don't have a vise, excuse me here. There we go. Sorry about this. There we go. All right, and if you got a vise and a couple of nice large-ish sized crescent wrenches, it works really good for straightening these things out. So you can see how much leverage I can put on it here. And I've already done a little bit of work to it. I don't know why I took the camera out of my mount here, but I'm holding it with my hand. And back in we go. We're gonna put some new grease on that pivot point as well, so it's a good idea to have that out. And look at that. Now we line up pretty good. I think I'm gonna bend it out just a little bit more, and we will be set. Okay, from the front to the back here, I installed this little cable guide that was just kind of hanging there. Drilled it, put some rivets in there. We fixed the headlight shell, fixed the brake lever, installed a new tail light bulb. I straightened out the shifter a little bit. We got the fuel petcock valve fixed using some parts that I had laying around. We fixed these items here. They don't look too bad. A little bit of black in there, a little bit of black in there from the plastic welding that I did. And that's about it. Flush the tank, of course, and put fresh fuel in there. Check the valves. I ordered an air filter and I ordered a oil filter. Those will be coming. So we'll do an oil change and we'll install the new air filter. But as it is, let's see how she does. Turn the fuel on. She runs great. I think with a fresh air filter in there, and of course an oil change and some new tires, we're gonna have a really great trail bike. Well, I just took a rip down the street on this thing, and it is a nice running bike. It feels plenty powerful, not out of control, but plenty of power, light, nimble. It's gonna be a winner. I'm gonna give her a little bath and we're gonna call her good. And hopefully we can get it out in the desert before it gets too hot, and I can give you a little review on how it operates out there. Okay, if you're liking the content I'm putting out, let me get that thumbs up, leave a comment down below, and if you're not already a subscriber, please consider doing so. Thank you very much for watching. Get out there and find your adventure. Adios.